Hello, my name is Nick Himes. I'm sitting here with Luke Meredith, the men's basketball coach for the past 6 years. How are you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for asking. With the season coming to an end in the sectional championship game, how do you reflect on this historic season?
I mean, obviously it didn't end the way we wanted. Double overtime, heartbreaking loss at Muncie Central against Mount Vernon for what we wanted so badly was to make a run of March and do the things that I thought our kids put them in position to do. But we did a lot of great things, for us to be able to go undefeated again in the conference, back-to-back conference champs, win 20-plus games, be able to play in the who's who of Indiana basketball, Sneakers for Santa, the Hall of Fame participants for the first time in school history, the Forum Classic. So we did a lot of great things, not just this year, but for the past 6 years that, a lot to be proud of.
Okay, so your goal whenever you took this coaching job was to put GC on the map and make it better. Do you think you achieved that goal?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think sometimes you have to surrender to the outcome, right? I mean, my ultimate goal was to win a state title, and any coach that comes here and says that that's not a reality, I just think that is cheating the kids and cheating our program and cheating our community. But yes, my goal was to put Greenfield-Central boys basketball back on the map, but building a culture and for our kids, mold young men and do everything right. And I do think that Greenfield has this, blue collar, middle class, show up and work your tail off in order to be successful vibe. And that's what I tried to get our kids to play and do. It wasn't without a great staff and Coach Mullins, Coach Bolden, Coach Johnson, and the rest of the guys that we had, Coach Green, Coach Laudenberg down the line. And it wasn't without, really good coaches. I'm here wearing a Brooklyn McDonald's All-American hoodie because Braylon Mullins is one of the top 14, but in my opinion, number one, best player in the country, but, really good players. Dylan Moles, Tyler Kirkhoff, a variety of different people along the way that really were able to continue to elevate our program in the last 6 years.
Okay, so earlier this year, you made the announcement that you will resign as a head coach. What kind of swayed your decision?
Sometimes when you know, and I felt like it had been something that had been weighing on my mind. That's all I've ever done. For 19 years, I've been a coach. Whether it be an assistant coach at Ben Davis, an assistant coach at Avon, and now leading this program for 6 years, it was an honor. But I feel like I gave this program everything that I had. And so when I talked earlier about being able to surrender the outcome, I know in my heart there was no stone left unturned. There wasn't anything that I could have done more. Do I wish it would have turned out differently? Absolutely. But there was a lot to be proud of. And once again, I gave it everything that I had. And it was time. It's time for somebody else to take it to another level, and time for me to do something different with my life.
Okay, so obviously it was a hard decision. How long did it take, how long was it in the back of your mind, or how long did it take to decide on this?
Well, the last couple of years, we had talked about maybe after this group, the 6 seniors in that group. I talked about it with my family maybe after when Moles in that group and they graduated, 2 years ago. But I don't know, something that I talked about a lot with my wife. It's also going to be something that's pretty difficult. Like I said, I do love basketball, and I'm not 100% willing to completely step away from the game. So if a new coach would have me, I'm up to help in whatever capacity that I can help. But now it's time for somebody else to take the program as the head coach.
Do you see yourself coming back to coaching any time in the future?
Potentially, but like I said, I wouldn't rule it out 100%. Because I know that I might like it here in June when we're not going through the grind of June. But I'm a grind guy. That's kind of where I hang my hat. I like to grind. I like being a part of that. But I do know next Thanksgiving will be tough when all the games are starting, and we're 2 days before Thanksgiving, and Greenfield-Central Cougars are playing Beech Grove, and I hope to be there supporting like heck the new coach and all the kids that are there in the program and the school.
Okay, so 75% win record as a head coach here. How do you manage that success?
Expectation, culture, creating a standard. I think that for our kids to know, to expect to win, winners know why they win. And I think that so many people think that you just show up at 7:30 and you roll the balls out and the best players win, or the more talented team wins, or the team that's the best coach wins. And all those things are true. But also, I talked a lot about the things that goes into success. Getting here an hour before school and getting shots up, the film preparation, the practice plan preparation, the season starting in June, and then going through the off-season workouts, and the kids doing what they need to do in the classroom, and the kids doing what they need to do in the weight room, and the kids doing what they need to do, getting enough sleep and the nutrition. All of those things go into what happens at 7:30 on Friday. And so for us to be able to build that culture of that's the standard, right? The standard is a standard. This is who we are. This is what we do. We're going to show up. We're going to play our tails off, and we're going to watch a heck of a lot of film. We don't require them to watch film outside of what we do. I show them the film, and that's broken down not just by me, but also by our staff for whoever we're preparing for. Watching our own game, figuring out to critique that, or watching the future opponent, trying to figure out what we can do to try to take some things away. But I think all of those things go into what everyone sees. And then the last part is we talked about like expecting to win. Like our kids, every single time the ball is tipped, like LFG, this is who we are, this is what we do. We're going to dive on the floor, we're going to check out, we're going to stick shots, we're going to fly around, we're going to have a bench mob, we're going to communicate early, loud, often. Like all of those things go into what makes us us, and the reason why we as a collective group, never just me, good players, good staff, collective culture, have been able to have the success that we've had win-wise.
How do you deal with like criticism people have to say and who don't agree with the way that you coach?
Yeah, no, I get it. I read everything, and I like to keep the receipts. You know, Steph Curry talks about keeping the receipts. Mm-hmm. I like those receipts. I like to keep all of that in here. I have a lot of screenshots of people and things that have been said on Greenfield Gabber, or been said on Twitter, or been said on Instagram about me or a player of mine or our program. And once again, I don't think that people really know and understand what goes into coaching, especially at a 4A high school, Indiana, at this level with the amount of success that we've had. But pressure is a privilege, and if you aren't doing something right, then people, they're not gonna. If we were losing games, if we were doing things, like we wouldn't have this opportunity to have the amount of attention put on us. Mm-hmm. And it had been a while since Greenfield-Central boys basketball had some attention, right? So if somebody says something from New Pal, or somebody says something about us regarding Mount Vernon, whatever, like, well, pressure is a privilege, and those opportunities, and the man in the arena, like I can't take that to heart, although I really do. I'm not going to say anything back on social media because I don't need to stoop to that level. But I like it when someone doubts me or doubts our program, because, like I said, when I say keep the receipts, that means you keep that. And then when you feel like you want to quit, you do another thing. When you feel like you're done watching film, you watch another one. Or you feel like somebody says you can't do something. Not only do you have to prove them wrong, but you also got to prove yourself right.
What are some life lessons you teach your players through the sport of basketball?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I want my own sons, and I've talked about this a lot. I want my own kids, Carter and Cole, who will be an 8th grader and a 7th grader next year, to play basketball, because I want a coach or someone that's going to stay on them about all of the things. I do think that basketball is a microcosm of life, and I do think that you could incorporate that into a lot of sports, but I want my kids to play sports because I want them to be able to understand, like, okay, I'm not playing. What happens? Do I blame the coach? Do I quit? No, you got to figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. You got to get extra reps. You got to have a communication and see eye to eye with the coach and talk to him and figure out what you need to do in order to improve. Knowing your role. Maybe your role is just the point guard and be able to, drop dimes. Maybe your role is to be the MIG, the most important guy, and stick shots. Maybe your role is to be a rebounder, a hustle guy. Maybe your role right now as a freshman is just to sit on the bench and communicate and talk and get better every day in practice. Second thing, we talk about academics. Every week Katie Brown sends me their grades, every kid. Cut out, put them on the sheet. Like, okay, you have an F. Like, why do we have an F in biology? Why do we have a D- in algebra? So I want someone to stay on their butt about grades. And then the last thing we talk about is just, being a good teammate, being around other kids that are also doing good things. Eagles hang with Eagles and turkeys hang with turkeys. So I think that kids that play sports and kids that are more active are typically going to be the Eagles, and the kids that aren't involved in extracurricular activities typically become turkeys. So I want my kids to hang out with other Eagles, and I want somebody like our coaching staff that stayed on our kids to help them just be great. I didn't have it figured out at 14 through 18. Heck, I don't have it figured out at 41. So I just want our kids to be able to learn the things that they can learn through basketball and hard work and perseverance and people talking trash and the stupid bar stool and all of the things that go into that. Because then when you get into college or you get in the real world, like those are real world things that you've already experienced to help you be the best version of yourself, which is why you want to play sports and why we want our kids. Not every kid's going to be Braylon and go to UConn. Not every kid's going to have an opportunity. Those are the 1%ers. But every kid's going to have an opportunity to have a good career, be a good dad, be a good person. And that should be the goal of high school, Indiana, sports, athletics. That's the goal.
Yeah. What are, in your opinion, some of your highlights of your career?
Well, when I got here, I wanted to be the Avon coach. Mm-hmm. And so I went through the interview process. I thought that I was going to be the next coach of the Avon Orioles. And, everything works in mysterious ways, and those things happen, and it was meant to be. I didn't get the job. So I had that chip on my shoulder, keep the receipts, right? And so I do have a great relationship with Jeff Holloway, who did get the job, and Jason Young, who's now their AD, and Lance Larkey, and a lot of people there. They're great people. And maybe I just wasn't ready yet. But then to be able to go back 4 years later, 5 years later, whenever it was, at Avon and to get a win at their place. And that happened to be coincidentally, like it wasn't an accident, I don't think, to be the 82nd win of our career and be the all-time winningest coach at Greenfield-Central. Like that just was something that kind of came full circle. So I don't know if that's necessarily a proud moment, but that was a personal moment for me, just because I think that everything just happened for a reason, and that was just a special night. It was also cancer night. I lost my mom to cancer. So there were like so many things that happened along the way for it to just happen and fall on that particular evening.
Okay, so to end this kind of lighthearted, what is one of your favorite memories of your coaching career?
Oh man, well, we have a lot, man. We have a lot of memories, a lot of things. It's not going to be one particular thing, but like a memory for me, like I love practice. I love practice Monday through Thursday, and I get really stressed out Monday, Tuesday when I'm just trying to find a way to figure a team out. We're playing Pendleton Heights on Friday night. It's a conference game. I know it's going to be sold out on 9-star game of the week, and I'm trying to figure this team out. I watch film during my prep period. I watch film when I get home. I watch film in the mornings, and then I just feel better and better and better. And then I feel like, okay, this is what I'm going to implement for our kids to do. I'm going to miss that grind. And then game day, it's game day. Like the little butterflies that you get in your pit of your stomach, like those are the things that I'm going to miss because you're nervous because, you put all of this into it and you're putting yourself out there, man in the arena. But then last thing is like being able to surrender the outcome of knowing that you gave everything that you had and you try to put your kids in position to be successful. But all the things that lead up to game day, a game day lift for me. I skip leg day, but I always do arm day on game day. I dab every kid up as we go through. I drink my Spark. I clip my heels right before the tip, like little things that, because I'm a weird dude and I have OCD, and these are the things that we do. Writing on the board in the morning and having their jerseys laid out, those are the things that I'm going to miss. So it's not like one particular memory, but it's going to be all of the things that go into what everyone saw on 7:30. And then if we win, I'm dabbing up the players, I give my wife a kiss, I give the post-game speech, and then we have half-price appetizers at Applebee's, so I got to get me some boneless wings. So like, those are the things that go into a full game day, and all of that is we get here at 7:30 a.m. and we shoot, game day shooting on the gun, and then you show up at 7:30 p.m. and we're ready to rock and roll. But that's part of what I'll miss: the grind, the players, the relationship, the things that I still have to this day. When I did resign, 75 text messages from the Mundell twins or Jake Cochran that I coached 6 years ago, or some of the guys that I coached at Avon, I coached at Ben Davis that were they're now grown men. They're 30 years old and they're texting their old coach that they had back in 2007. Congratulations, heck of a run. So that's something that you spend every day with a kid for 4 years or for 4 months, and so that's something that I'm truly going to miss and something that I think that basketball coaching is all about.
Okay, that is all I have. So thank you for coming out, and thank you for watching.